Welcome to Domination Travels, and today we are going to show you how to explore one of the up-and-coming travel cities in all of Europe, Lisbon. Lisbon offers visitors so many delights to enjoy, including historical sites, neighborhoods to get lost in, and so much delicious food. So come join us as we spend 3 days in the Portuguese capital. To start off our first day, we wanted to experience the history of Lisbon to appreciate the city we are about to explore. We begin the day in Pracia Do Commercial, perhaps the most famous public square in the city. After the great earthquake of 1755, much of Lisbon lay in ruins and needed to be rebuilt. As the city was built back up, the grand design for the new city of Lisbon included plans for this grand new market square. There are many great features of the square, but the centerpiece has to be the Rua Augusta Arch. Finished in 1873 and standing over 100 feet tall, the arch commemorates the reconstruction of Lisbon, and for a small price you can venture up to the top and catch a sweeping bird's-eye view of the square and the city behind. Also within the square is the Lisbon Story Center, an interactive museum meant to give visitors an overview of all the key moments in Lisbon's history, including its founding, various conquests, and its role in the era of discovery and colonialism, as well as the Great Earthquake and the new Lisbon which emerged from the ruins. The Story Center was informative but simple, and it's an option to consider in your trip if you have time. For lunch, we're going to jump on Tram 28 and ride west just a little bit to the Mill, a quaint little spot for brunch with an Australian influence. We went with the Melbourne avocado toast along with a couple of drinks, and even though it's not Portuguese food, it was still pretty delicious.
Oh, that's really good. That avocado, I like
it. As we walked back towards the city center, we made our way into Bario Alto. This is the main nightlife district in Lisbon, so during the day it can be more quiet, but there's still a lot to enjoy and explore here, including some lovely buildings and street art. And you'll also find a couple gathering spots where you can sit down to grab a drink and unwind. While exploring Bario Alto, make it a priority to stop inside Manteigaria, a bakery specializing in pastéis de nata, the famous Portuguese custard tarts. While you are visiting Lisbon, you will want to get your daily fix of this delicious pastry, and this stop was actually my favorite spot for it. While exploring Bario Alto, there's also a couple noteworthy historical sites to stop by. The first is the Carmo Covent, a preserved remains of a Catholic convent that was heavily damaged during the Great Earthquake of 1755 and was never fully rebuilt. And the second site is the gorgeous Church of Sao Roque. The outside may not seem like much, but the inside is beautifully decorated with all types of incredible ornate decor, paintings, and woodwork, painted in this beautiful gold finish. Now after all that walking, it was time for us to relax a little bit. And fortunately, Lisbon is filled with many incredible terraces where you can capture beautiful views of the city. One of the most well-visited viewpoints is Miradouro de São Pedro de Alcântara. This is a beautiful spot, with merchant shops, a small fountain, and even a bar to buy drinks. And if you have a chance to visit during the evening like we did, you'll be treated to a memorable sunset as you overlook the streets of Lisbon. And this is how we wrapped up our first day. For day number 2, we are going to start with a trip to the neighborhood of Belem. Now Belem is outside of the city center, but it's worth going here for a half-day trip because it contains several of the most treasured attractions in the city of Lisbon. We begin with Belem Tower. Built in the 16th century, the tower was used as a fortress to guard the city of Lisbon along the Tagus River. It is one of the few buildings to survive the Great Earthquake, and it is now a treasured icon of the city. Now you can go inside the tower, but lineups will be long during the high season. so instead we opted to visit in the morning before the tower even opened to capture some peaceful photos. A short walk along the river brings us to the Monument to the Discovery. Built in 1939, the monument is a tribute to Portugal's seafaring past, featuring statues of 33 key individuals during the golden age of exploration and discovery. As an option, for a small cost, you can also climb up to the top for a vantage point over the neighborhood of Belem and the river below. On the ground in front of the monument, you will see the Compass Rose, a 50-meter tiled compass with a map featuring Portugal's navigation discoveries. Across from the Monument to the Discovery is the Jerónimos Monastery. The monastery is grand in size and beautiful, with many richly ornate decorations. Historically, the monks in the monastery had the responsibility of praying for the king's soul, as well as the sailors who voyaged towards new lands. Now, if you're on a budget, the chapel of the monastery is free to enter, but if you want to spend a little bit more, you can also enter the cloisters portion as well, which is one of the most picturesque portions of the entire monastery. Now, even if you are not big into tourist sites, Belem is still worth visiting for Pastéis de Belém, the bakery where pastéis de nata was invented by the monks who served in the monastery. Now, without a doubt, the pastéis de nata here were phenomenal and tasty, but if you are here during the daytime, it will be busy. But fortunately, you can buy some tarts to go and find a nice spot outside to sit down and snack. So this wrapped up our time in Belem, and then we took the tram back into the city center. Once we got back to the city center in the afternoon, we went to check out the Santa Justa elevator, an architectural gem built with the purpose of providing an easy connection between the upper Bario Alto district with the lower Baxia districts. Now, from the bottom of the elevator, the lineup to get in will be very long during the busy season. But you don't need to ride the elevator to visit the incredible viewing platform at the top. You can just walk up to the Carmo Covent, and then all you need to do is pay €150, and then you can enjoy this wonderful view that makes you feel like you're suspended above the streets of Lisbon. For dinner, we are heading over to the Time Out Market, the largest food market in Lisbon, where you will find dozens of different stalls offering all types of cuisines, both foreign and local. The Time Out Market does have a huge international and tourist presence, and the prices here are going to be a little bit higher than some of the traditional local restaurants that you'll find. But the food here is delicious, and it's still reasonable in price. To wrap up our second day, we decided to treat ourselves to some gelato. So we grabbed a scoop at Gelados Santini. This is one of the most popular places in Lisbon for gelato, and they have a location at the Time Out Market as well as in the city center. With our stomachs full, we were ready for some sleep as we prepared for a packed day number 3. For our third day, it is time to get our walking shoes on, because we have a lot of exploration to do. We begin our morning at Lisbon Cathedral. Originally built in 1147, but renovated and expanded many times since, this is the oldest church in Lisbon, and still functions as the archdiocese of the city. Step inside and get a glimpse of this stunning building that has played a central role in Lisbon's spiritual history. From Lisbon Cathedral, we then decided to get lost within the winding streets of the Alfama District. What makes this district so unique is that it's one of the few parts of the city that was not destroyed during the Great Earthquake. And so when you walk through Alfama, you get the experience of what Lisbon used to look like when the cityscape was still dominated by Moorish-style homes and streets. With the winding roads and crisscrossing alleys, this is an area that you want to give yourself plenty of time to enjoy. As you walk through the Alfama district and go uphill, you will get closer and closer to Sao Jorge Castle. Sao Jorge oozes with history, having stood as a fortification over Lisbon for millennia. The current castle complex was constructed and held by the Moors until the Portuguese armies ousted them in 1147. The castle complex is quite fun to explore through, and because of its hilltop location, it doubles as an incredible viewing spot of the city. Now making our way back down from the castle, we enter into Baxia, the heart of the center of Lisbon, and an area that we already walked through many times. The Baxia District is an example of the new Lisbon that was rebuilt after the Great Earthquake, and it was built in a grid pattern and features gorgeous neoclassical buildings. This is one of the main areas for dining and shopping in Lisbon, so you can grab something to eat here at one of the many restaurants or do some shopping for yourselves, but for our final day, we wanted to go big with our dinner. For dinner, we decided to go big and treat ourselves to a night out at Ramiro's, one of the most popular seafood restaurants in Lisbon. There is almost always a lineup to get into Ramiro's, but don't worry, outside in the patio, you can dispense yourself a beer for just €2 while waiting for a seat, and that atmosphere here is kind of fun. Once we got inside, we decided to go with 3 different dishes. First, we went with a crab dish, then some prawns, and finally some mussels, and each dish was fantastic. After our delicious dinner, we were in serious need of some more dessert.
I walked a lot today, and I need some therapy. Gelato Therapy.
A cute little shop with some delicious and adventurous flavors. Now unfortunately, this brings us to the end of our time in Lisbon, and to cap it off, we wanted to catch one more incredible sunset overlooking this beautiful city. So we headed back into Alfama and to the Miradouro de Pasteis de Sol and Miradouro de Santa Luzia, 2 fantastic viewpoints which lie right next to each other. What I like here is that instead of looking into the city center, these viewpoints look towards Alfama and the Tagus River. That gives you a different perspective. And just for an added touch, take a moment to appreciate some of the ornate Azures tiles that line the terrace here. We had an incredible time in Lisbon, and we hope you enjoyed this look at the quirky and beautiful fun city. If you've been to Lisbon, tell us what your favorite thing to do was here. And if you're planning to go to Lisbon, tell us what you are most excited to see in the comments down below.
So if you find this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos.
Until next time, never stop exploring.